I'm live here from London's Islington. Second attempt to release the podcast I tried to release earlier. This is British Lebanese known on Twitter. I've been forced to use this platform here, which is my Lebanese tips platform for sports events and debunking the gambling sector. So for those viewers, sadly, I won't be giving tips today. I did give a tip in the podcast earlier, which was a good tip for you just quickly before I started today's podcast. So this podcast is addressed to our brothers out there who are speakers for our Muslim communities here in Muhammad Hijab, including Ali Dawah, and our brother Smile to Jannah as well. And I address you and salute you in your efforts whilst producing some of very informative and useful um, podcasts. Now, what I'm going to do here, I've already spoken on this podcast broadcast. I've also recorded it in a separate recording audio. Um, and what I'm going to do is just let that run through from that audio on this live podcast with you. It's an important message to my Muslim brothers and sisters and the community of Muslims who are experiencing Ramadan during this month. And there's some breaking information. There's a whole load of discussions, subjects discussed in this podcast. I've annotated some of them. There are quite a few. They are a continuation of my presidential case. I'm a 17-day hunger striker from here, London's Islington. I'd like to speak about this podcast in another podcast at some point, address this, hopefully, if it gets to you in good health. It's important that this podcast comes out as a continuation of my presidential case. I'm a victim of a number of subjects. I'm a hunger striker, day hunger striker. And I'm just going to let the podcast flow right now. So I'll refrain from talking and let it record. So you might hear me in the background tweeting, clicking, perhaps. So here we go. So I'm recording right now. Hold on. First of all, the time now is 22:12 on the 24th of April 2022. Coming to you live from London's Islington, where I've lived since 1974. For the basics, for the sake of the second recording I'm making separate to YouTube. The time now is 18:15 on the 24th of April 2022. Okay, first of all, if you are a football fan here, I'm not entirely sure. I'm looking at Liverpool and Everton here live in play, just for the benefit of the YouTubers who tapped onto my subscription and are catching me live right now. It's 2-0 to Liverpool. I don't see any more goals in here. I wouldn't throw any more. There may be one, but I really would like to doubt. I actually doubt it. And that is talking from the Lebanese tips perspective. There's 2 goals there. If there is one, it's going to happen shortly. But I actually doubt it. So don't throw your money over 2-0 there. I'll leave that there. Okay, let me just, I need some more energy on my very weak engine in my laptop or in my PC. So I'll log off a few screens to hopefully maintain this live stream. Okay, so I boarded this bus. I can't talk too much about it because I'm up at call, and I didn't read today where I was able to see on my just taking it today. So I ask you Lebanese brothers and sisters listening to this podcast rather than viewing it or my picture should there. It's me standing there in my jacket, Palestinian scarf, a Palestinian scarf, we call it here in London. They call it a kifa here. Kifa, Palestinian kifa. That's the first time I wore it out in the street with this scarf on. Well, it's the second time, a couple of times I walked out. It was interesting to observe how I was confronted or greeted, or people would walk past in a pavement, on a pavement, and the reaction of people who see someone like me, for example, which I have Middle Eastern complex. You've seen me on YouTube here on my podcasts, and so boarding a bus while just putting out a cigarette. It was approximately between 2 and 2:30 yesterday. Put out a cigarette, get on a bus. You have a swipe system. You swipe your card onto the machine and then walk through. If you're like me, you might greet the driver and ask him, "Hello, how are you?" or something like that. And I do that almost every time I board a bus. I've made a point of doing that since well before the alleged pandemic. Made a point of doing that since well before the alleged pandemic, and it causes bus drivers to be actually surprised. And I've observed how many of them do actually think, "Gosh, he's just spoken to me," or someone has just, a passenger has just spoken to me and said hello, has greeted me. And I've spotted that so many times, and they are almost very thankful that you've actually addressed them as you walk into the bus which they are driving. London bus here we're talking about. For those. So I swipe my card, I sit in the front seat, and as I get on the bus, before I step on the bus, I'm given a look from this driver. Let me give you a brief description of this driver. This driver is the first thing that came to my mind, and I'm sure will come to anyone's mind, is a young driver. That was distinguishedly obvious. If you push me and ask me for how old he was, I really could put him past 25, 26, if it was maybe maximum 27 or something, less than that, below that. And I would not be surprised if he was about 23 or 24. Okay, so that's my conclusion of what I think his age is. Nevertheless, he was also a brother. And when I say brother, I look at every non-white man as a brother. That's my description of a brother. However, I do, being a British Lebanese, before my age now, I used to look at everybody as a brother, being a cosmopolitan, metropolitan, multicultural man that I am, and a very much integrated member of also the white man community here in London. I'm sorry to seem like I'm segmenting all of you or some of you there, but I grew up with the white boys, if you know what I mean, my fellow brother expats of any country who've been subjected to move out to another world, another country and live there, you fall under my what I deem as my brothers and sisters. You know, this is how I see things. You know, we are multicultural people of especially me being a British Lebanese, where my country has multi-sect. We've got over 18 sects in Lebanon, 17, 18 different languages. Young driver was a Bengali bus driver, and the machine swiped. I heard a sound which authorizes the transaction, and I sat down. The driver did look at me odd, as I said to you earlier, and it kind of riddled in my head, but nevertheless just faded away and it ended the story. And as I got on the bus and swiped and sat down, he told me that he turned his head round and told me that it didn't got swiped again. Now, I wasn't sure why he asked that, but you know, I'm one with I don't like to have my intelligence abused, and I'm no difference from any other person who does not like to have their intelligence abused. Yeah, and this person did just that, and by kind of, I don't know, from his aura, as if to come from some authoritative mannerism, that he felt the need to want me to swipe my card again after it was already swiped and he had told the confirmed truth that it's passed. But to cut a long story short, I'm not going to talk about this and this case until the court case gets resolved. But as a result, in a nutshell, I've woke up this morning in a few hours that I've had. I got home approximately 4:30 in the morning after being detained approximately 2:30 yesterday. Today is the 24th of April. And I'm being charged with contrary to Section 39 of the Criminal Justice Act 1988 and Section 1 of the Assault on Emergency Workers Commerce Offences Act, Commerce Act 2018. Right, so it's got here assault by beating of an emergency worker, right, namely a police officer acting in the exercise of his functions. Well, clearly, I dispute all of it, every section of it. And this is as a result of why I've done this podcast. I've done 10 minutes of it. I'm going to get to the main point now. Today I found out why this person, this bus driver, this Muslim brother, on the 24th, on the 23rd of April, which is incidentally Ramadan. Yeah, to most of you out there, especially you expats who don't really fast like me. I now, after looking back into why this person looked at me funny when I jumped on the bus before I swiped my card, I now know, as well as walking around with this Kefir today, in an area where, as well as the last few days actually, since I bought it about 3 days ago, this Kefir scarf, I have had a cigarette in my hand during fasting hours. I'm going to bring you back to this case here where I jumped on a bus and was confronted by this bus driver. This bus driver, during our discussion of why I felt that I did not need to swipe it again after paying for it, I've already paid for it, and that if he wanted me off the bus, that he would have to give me a receipt so I can jump on the next bus instead of swipe my bank card again. Now, he refused to do that. Now, this is unacceptable, so I complained on the phone to the organisation and I waited for the police.
absolute, completely, utter judgmental views before even speaking to me and hearing, or even the bus drivers for that matter. So I was confronted by a totally unprofessional, newly recruited police. When I say newly recruited police, to those of you out there who are subscribed to the likes of auditors who confront police who are trying to bend the rules, and these people are YouTubing this out. They call them auditors. I'm currently following Marty Blackborough. If you look up Marty Blackborough, BLATBOROUGH, MARTI, you'll see what kind of work he does. Now, these police officers, it's important to raise. Now, I ended up getting kneed in the bollocks for no reason. And I don't agree that police are, what did he say? Emergency worker, a police officer, acting in the exercise of his functions as such a worker. Now, when you beat someone in the bollocks who's compliant with you and who's told you, after telling you, I'm not going to get off the bus until you give me a ticket and allow me, because I have to get on another bus, and that ticket will mean that I won't have to pay again. This young man, what he'd done was, I never resisted the police. This young man, what he'd done was, he didn't like the fact that when I was just about to get on the bus, I put out my cigarette. And when he was on the bus, he was telling his passengers, I don't need this, I'm fasting. I'm fasting. Or I don't need this, I'm fasting as well, today as well, like that. Now, I clicked on that straight away, being a Muslim. The guy was fasting. You see me getting on a bus. I've got a Palestinian kufiya or kifa on. It is 2:30 in the afternoon, and it is Ramadan. Yeah, it is Ramadan. Now, this is the reason why I clicked on it this morning. Why he was fasting, in fact, and since he I would like to see some footage on the CCTV as to whether he was fasting in his workplace, or whether he was smoking on that day from the journey of when he left his house to when he arrived to his depot to carry out his duty as a new bus driver, young bus driver, Muslim. Now my message to you Muslims, 15 minutes, I'm on 15 minutes in now. Where am I? The live streaming YouTube is saying I'm 18 minutes in. But I found that. So, what I say to you Muslims, all Muslims, as my brothers and sisters, this is my message to you, so please pay attention. You have to be in control of such an extreme, in my view, it is an extreme form of showing your loyalty to the religion that we all are a part of. We are, and when I say we, come on now, we are over 4 billion people here on our mother earth. You are responsible for your conduct whilst you are fasting. Therefore, you need to control yourself during that period. I've walked the streets in London's East London, and I've been eating something. Not just this year. Prior, many years have went past where I've experienced this scenario, this very scenario that I've decided to produce this podcast. They confront you with bad looks. They confront you with even telling you that you are supposed to be fasting. Who's they that I'm talking about? I'm talking about members of the public, Muslim members of the public who are probably fasting. More than likely they are fasting. And yet these members of our public here think that they are Allah. And I'm supposed to say subhanallah from that. I'm not really a strict Muslim. I am a Muslim. I was born a Muslim. I am today a Muslim. And there are discussions in my podcast which will talk about myself and the incident that happened. And I will continue that conversation about the church in Bromley in another podcast, where I was a godfather and full friend. Well, I lost because of Islam Council. I lost because of Islam. And that is detrimental because it is no different from a death. A death is no different. The death of a friendship where you've known each other since childhood. That's extraordinary to experience. Nevertheless, it was all part of my presidential case, and I annotated the to give background to my presidential case, to which my lawyer, my former lawyer, who I was supposed to appoint a specific type of lawyer, who told me, and I quote, "Sam, I urge you to inform the public of your findings." Unquote. Lawyer telling me to tell the public about what happened. That is a lawyer telling me an insured, qualified solicitor. Coming back to talking to my Muslim brothers here, and I would like people like Ali Dawa and what's that other one? The former teacher, can't remember his name. They do podcasts together, as well as the Smile to Jannah. I would like them to observe this podcast, and I would like you to take from me the examples that I'm trying to bring out. You guys are much more eloquently equipped, better than I am, providing you don't piss me off by wearing clothes like corporate-funded sportswear, corporate Israeli corporate funded funders to Israel with sportswear like Nike, Adidas, and Nike. Yeah, I will confront you if you're trying to portray yourselves as our good image, present yourself as good image with your 500,000 viewers and all that. Yeah, I will question you. Yeah, I'm not questioning you to refute you. I'm there to give constructive criticism. I've seen some points where I think are valid, and are portraying the wrong image of Islam, and perhaps by mistake, which is fine. But nevertheless, I've had well over 600-700 likes on my comments on your websites from one comment at one time. And that's continued at other comments, where some of them I've been targeted for coming out and bringing my constructive criticism. I too am a British Lebanese. I too am an expat. I too am a speaker that sometimes feel the need to verbalise myself, including the recent one my lawyer told me to. So I ask you guys, in view of me explaining to the public now how sometimes us Muslims who are not fasting are confronted by Muslims who are fasting, and perhaps that should have been the headline of this podcast here. Better put out actually, and maybe Ali Dawa, Smile to Jannah, one day maybe I'll come around and talk to you guys, and we'll have a discussion and stimulate some discussion on some subjects that I would like to question you on, better knowledge as well myself, because we're all learners, aren't we? And we love to learn. We humans are we hunger to learn. I hunger for news, good news, real news. Yeah, and undiluted news. So we all have an affinity for something, and those are some of the things that I do. Coming back to the subject, it is not up to you, Muslim brothers or sisters, to criticize me. Should you see me stuffing myself with an ice cream with a flake in it, or I don't know, or eating, particularly, you should see, if you see a Muslim brother or sister eating, it is not for you to judge and come over and make snarly comments and make people feel uncomfortable, yeah, or to confront someone like I was confronted whilst getting on a bus and greeting a Muslim brother and putting out a cigarette butt in the afternoon during Ramadan, essentially, yeah, when he's fasting. And if you can't handle your job while you're working, and you feel that you might have a temperament, because let's face it, fasting doesn't impact you just being hungry, does it? Or being thirsty. Yeah? And let me just do a demonstration here. The time now is 8:39. I'm just going to have a drink of water there, yeah, to see if there's any comments that are going to come up while you lot are fasting out there. So you can hear me gargle it down. This is my example out to you lot. As a Muslim on Ramadan, I've just drank a glass of water, some water from my bottle. It's not your business to tell me that I can't do that because I'm a Muslim and I should be fasting. It is not your business to judge upon me whether you are a friend or a stranger. It is not your business to addictive substance which government have made legal. And as a result, on Ramadan, to the Muslims out there who smoke, if you can't handle during Ramadan and you shout or raise your voice or use a swear word, like even if you use the word effing, like one of you prominent 1,000 subscribers to one of those I've just mentioned earlier, one of Ali Dawah and Dr. Jannah's friends, you know, the big Muslim guy who was a teacher, I can't remember his name. I almost feel embarrassed because I can't remember his name. But nevertheless, I would like you guys to do a YouTube, please. And I would like you guys to address how our Muslim brothers should be temperamental, less temperamental to other Muslims who are not fast. They need to respect the wishes of all Muslim brothers. And even you yourself, yeah, you don't say the word effing, yeah, on your YouTube while you're fasting. Yeah, and don't throw your people to throw comments or get into other accounts and throw comments to respond to me commenting legitimate criticism on your YouTube. Yeah, when I hear you annotate a speech of someone and you use the word, the F word, which is used as quote effing. Yeah, it's because you broke your fast, sunshine. I'm sorry to tell you, and you call yourself representing Islam. Come on, you know, I'm not here to maliciously attack. You speak London. I'm, as well as the fact to throw me into isolation. I know all about this. I received a big sentence response. Don't be surprised. Yeah, the police out there. I get YouTube to shut me down because I've already given out the evidence. Shut me down because I've already given out the evidence. Now, it's a next time that they arrested me and put me in a high category prison, mental health prison, for quoting that I have received a direct message from the former president of Lebanon. I know that that was the reason why I was sent to that mental health hospital. Well, I'm at it. This is a message to you, Rami Martala, ambassador of the Lebanese embassy here. You are feeling the consequences. I'm feeling the consequences of your failure to address this matter, which you have told me your Ali Banud, your the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'm feeling the consequences of that. I was forced yesterday to contact a law firm which I never wanted to call, and I've resisted Prince Andrew's firm, Prince Andrew, represented Prince Andrew rather. And I mentioned that last night when I sent it to the police, and they thought I was crazy. How dare you? How dare you insult the firm where my ex-girlfriend was working and call me crazy and call it crazy and thought that I should stipulate that what's it called again? Blackford solicitors. I should stipulate that that's crazy. Oh, the person just arrested Mr. Sam reckons that this law firm represented Prince Andrew. Of course it's fucking true. Of course it's fucking true. Contact them. The man that represented him was dubbed as Mr. Good Guy, allegedly. And this is all public information here, you know?
Mr. Good News! Mr. Good News. I'm intervening.
I'm pretty sure it was a Daily Mail. But nevertheless, it didn't just go to the Daily Mail, it went to the whole fucking world. So this stigma that I was thrown in of being thrown in the mental health system, I've already cracked it. I've received a confession from mental health social worker, that she said that the reason why they decided to put me in my mental health hospital for the first time in my life, which, by the way, for those of you that have not heard this, I went on hunger strike for 17 days. And it was actually more than 17 days. It turned out to be true. I finally presented a direct message. Even the journalist, Chris Dorsey, a journalist who used to appear on Press TV, he follows me here on Facebook. He's been the actual conversation that I received from Baghdad Palace. Come on, wake up, Lebanese government. By the way, is no opportunity to nip this in the bud and deal with the presidential case. The presidential case that was forwarded to you by the. Maybe I'll get my ex to deal with you. Maybe I'll ask her, or maybe I'll ask the firm. It's not her, it's up to the firm. And I won't be asking for anything because that's what I want from any lawyer. Because if I do at least find a lawyer that will cover my presidential case, I guarantee you the Lebanese embassy, yeah, I'll be legally approaching you. And I'll be seeking damages, I'll be seeking compensation, not just from you, the Met Police, the Mental Health Service, a number of organizations that were involved, a number of names that were involved, including British MP Emily Thornberry, the racist MP, not dubbed by me, but by millions of tweets across the whole of England, let alone the rest of the world, with the white man van tweet where she was demoted from her right honourable status. It was her who made the phone call to the police. And it was at that moment that all of a sudden, after me exposing a senior member called Nichols in Islington Council for taking cash bribes for a council flat, after me exposing whistleblowing, one of the first in England. I bet you I was one of the top 5 people in the country, in England, here where I live and have been since 1973, who forwarded that damning information about Islington Council putting tenants and residents in fatal asbestos danger. words towards that line. Headlines, I'm talking about national, not local headlines. I was the one who exposed it. I was the one who sent an email to my MP asking her for help while I was going through an eviction. And she kept on acting in a banal reply to someone who's got a Muslim surname. And I've been the one, before you, Electric Intifada, yeah, before you, Palestinian rights activists across the world, yeah, I've been the one who's been annotating the racism coming out of London's Islington, here in Labour Islington. For the last over decade, 12 years, 13 years, I've been highlighting this. And then you lot bring out your articles, and all of a sudden you print, Electric Intifada prints an article exposing a member who's just joined Islington Council, a former member of Unit 8200, the Israeli terrorist organisation, Mossad, working here in Islam with our council, our local party, that produced this many years down the line after I've been saying there are some bad, but big time, but Islington's Labour. I've been bringing that forth. I've been exposing my MP. Yeah, I've got a lot of publicity, not from that. I've got a lot of publicity from when Saeed Hariri, the former president of Lebanon, His Excellency Saeed Hariri, showed me some attention on my Twitter. I was only telling someone today, a worker of BBC today, who I suspect followed me. Even today, I'm making you news that I was in a place today where I believe, that this person who was talking to me today works for the BBC. Yeah, and I'm also exposing right now, as I'm telling you, I'm exposing this information. As part of my findings on my presidential case, I never thought about this podcast, but I could take to me. I was, what I would be doing effectively, a British Lebanese expat professional, a former Hewlett Packard. How many of you in Lebanon can tell me you work for Hewlett Packard? I can tell you now, there ain't much of you. I've already contacted HP over a decade ago when I wanted to transfer off, isn't it? Only a certain sect, yeah, can get into those high profile jobs. And it is a high profile job. I was stuck in one of Hewlett Packard's most sensitive accounts. Let me just repeat that. I was headhunted for this job, which was, there was a specific requirement because I have elements of sensitivity. I have elements of empathy. I have, as well as my multi-careers that I've different jobs that I've done, I have the ability to deal with bottlenecks effectively. Now, over the last few years, I've been subjected to exuberating my voice, which is sometimes misled. But I have so much anger in the failures of the British judicial system, the British justice. You tell me one thing, you police out there, what's paperwork is suggested? You've been outruled by over 4 consultant psychiatrists, police officers here in England. And I know you're listening to me, you slide bag or one. We are your master. We are your taxpayer. You have to learn to understand we are your taxpayer. We may not be your master. I'll take that particular word back. But there's a determinist. And without us, you are nobody. Because you are the sons and daughters of us who pay your taxes. While I'm here, I'm going to do a message out to the police force here, to which I address the who's the minority? Yeah, I address the minority first. The minority are in the police force are those good people who have the best intentions of conducting themselves with morals, do actually have moral compass. They do actually want to be good to the community. I'm sorry, but your reputation has been tarnished by the 90% of the police officers who don't. And you stand 10%, the majority, well, gosh, maybe 15%, yeah. The seniors out there need to be moved and thrown out, just like when BMW bought Rover, spat all the other cars out and kept them in. You need to get rid of all the crap, and you are crap. You seniors out there who are covering the likes of all these cases that I'm not going to say the actual case, but all these cases that Blackfoots are representing in the most highest of profiles. You're the ones who've been hiding all of it. So you corrupt police officers out there, I have absolutely no respect for you whatsoever. And I don't think anyone with the right frame of mind respects any police officers who abuse your positions in the most evil and malicious way. I got kicked in the bollocks by a police officer yesterday. I was getting off the bus. They actually kicked me off, kicked me in the bollocks while I was getting off the bus. Push me. Is that within your remit? If someone is not resisting and is telling you that they're actually getting off the bus, is that within your remit? Is that how you conduct yourself? Because you know what? I'm here to tell you, any white man who does that to a Muslim needs to understand that we never forgive, as far as I'm concerned anyway. When I say we, I don't mean we. I'm not part of any Muslim organisation. I do not promote Islam or demote Islam. I do not preach Islam is a right word. And I'm not here to be a representative of any other than I deem myself as an expat who likes to inform my fellow expats of me growing up here as a British Lebanese living in London's Islington, with a message from my solicitor who's told me, quote, Sam, I urge you to inform the public of your findings, unquote. This is with reference to my presidential case. So I was stuck in a cage yesterday, just like ISIS stick Syrian brothers and sisters in a cage, you know, the white helmets. I was stuck in a cage yesterday before they put me in a cell. Like animals, like an animal. Like how they stick animals or a bird in a cage. Because of a Muslim who had a problem with me was on Ramadan. And you white man, police officers especially, because you white man, when you look at my picture here, and I was saying to you on this podcast here, look at my picture. What's wrong with that picture? You see a man there, that's me. I just took it today. While we're supposed to be, Muslims are fasting on Ramadan. What's wrong with that picture? You can see me wearing my keffiyeh, my Palestinian keffiyeh. It doesn't just represent Palestine, does it? It represents freedom, sovereignty. It represents righteousness. It represents the difference between right and wrong. So you Palestinian, so you Muslim brothers out there, Yeah? You have absolutely broken your fast, like that driver did. Our Bengali brother, young 25-year-old brother. Had he been a mature bus driver, I would have never been kicked in the bollocks by a police officer for no fucking reason. If anyone got a problem with me swearing, yeah, look, I'm a British Lebanese Londoner, yeah. You could tell my voice, not my voice, my accent. You could tell I've been living in London. There's no two ways about it. We use swearing language here in London, yeah, as part of our discussion and expressing ways of putting ourselves forward. When we do that, today, in this day and age, I was dubbed by my ex as the what was it? What's that guy on Only Fools and Horses? As a likeness to him, but she's so wrong, and she is today still wrong. But nevertheless, I say that with a smile. You need to understand out there, you Muslim brothers, yeah. You need to control yourself during Ramadan, not just with us Muslim brothers. Yeah, control yourself, because if you're doing it to me, a Muslim, but who's not fasting, then how are you reacting to the white man or our non-Muslim brothers and sisters out there what are doing Ramadan? Control yourself, for God's sake. I bet you the crime rate goes right up when the Muslims, with Muslims in Ramadan in every country. I bet you. I lay money down on it. On Ramadan, I lay it. Just to insult you Muslims who think that you could be judgmental to those who don't want to fast. Who the fuck are you? Who are you? I don't have to be the Muslim of your perceptions. I could be a good Muslim by the fact that I'm quite happy with my British Lebanese family being the good British Lebanese Muslim family who actually changed the law in this country. Now, I can't tell you the name of the law itself because they refer to an address. That law is given section blah blah from address blah blah. I can't actually give you that, but I forwarded it to the Lebanese embassy. I forwarded it to a Chris journalist, Chris Dorsey, former journalist for Press TV. I forwarded it to politicians. I forwarded it to relevant VIPs and officials who need to know. So nobody can criticise the fact of me quoting something I'm rather proud of. The fact that my family changed British law in a presidential case. Sorry, not presidential. A case that set a precedence. The word precedence is different to presidential. I've come to learn. Which means that they've created a law out of our case where we were taken to Islam Council, taken to court by Islam Council. So this is an old time bit of an enemy here, you know. Islam Council are terrorists as far as I'm concerned, because let me explain to you, let me, British Lebanese, explain to you what the definition of terrorism by using the Zionists' own platform, Google. Let's do this again. Let's have a look at it. We'll see. There we go. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. And then it's got under it in brackets, quote, the fight against terrorism. Now, this is the definition of terrorism as per Google here. Now, I'm not sure whether this differs with the Oxford Dictionary or Cambridge Dictionary or the other British terms of the definition. What's the exact definition of terrorism. Here, now it goes into it here by the dema.az.gov, or here it's got here, I can see what is the exact definition of terrorism. Department of Defense Directory of Military Terms define terrorism as the calculated use of unlawful violence or threat of unlawful violence to inculcate fear, intend to coerce or intimidate governments or societies in the pursuit of goals that are generally political, religious, or ideological. State terrorism. Now, some of the acts the Islam Council carries out translate to the definition of terrorism. And I will be explaining this in my podcasts. Before I do, I don't need to tell you this, explain it to you. Because if you are an organization that fund terrorism, if you pay terrorists money, if you fund them, give them money, you are deemed as part of that terrorist organization. You are deemed as part of it. And with reference to a journalist here in England, reference to a journalist that's from England originally, her name is Vanessa Beeley, in exposing terrorism and the white helmets in Syria. Not just the Islam councils here in England have been funding organisations affiliated to the white helmets. So when I give out that definition there, it is backed by solid investigative journalists as to them exposing the terrorism in which implicate the taxpayer in England as terrorists, as those funding terrorism. And it is in this country here, if you're British, if you're British, if you've got a British passport like me, it is our obligation to inform the government of any form of terrorism. It is my duty to do that, and I'm happy to do that at any time. And I have contacted MI16 or MI7? I can't remember the exact word. I've got on my Facebook here. While I'm there, I've contacted them and informed them about which 19. I've informed them. And you should inform the police or the government of all kinds of terrorism. And it is our duty to do that. And I'm happy to do that as part of the community. Whatever it takes. Yeah. When I say whatever it takes, I will report any form of terrorism to the police as my utmost first and foremost. I think I will. Then I leave it to them to run them off. But coming back to, you see, the beauty, and I don't construct my podcasts. They're always like, I don't orchestrate my podcast. I don't talk to any organisation. I'm not a part of any political party or any of that. But I'm a former Packer employee. I've got 27 years experience in IT. Former job club leader here in a couple of job clubs. I'm a former transport manager as well for a number of years. And I've been headhunting jobs. I've been a workaholic, an absolute workaholic, until Islam Council decided to rob me of my lifetime possessions in an evil, wicked, malicious eviction, whereby they promised to put all my lifetime possessions, everything. I just had a few things to take away to a temporary property while they were, because they were guilty to found guilty to rehouse, they were forced to rehouse me. because they were found guilty to make the owners. And so they did, but they took over 99% of my furniture, 90% of my furniture for lifetime possession, which include items I've had from King Robbo. For those of you who don't know, King Robbo is the founding father of graffiti art here in England. Certainly in London, he's my school classmate when we were young. And he's the one who, if you Google the word Graffiti Wars, Channel 4 News documentary, there's an award-winning documentary about it. So they knew, the Zone Council, along with my MP, knew that I went to the same class as well. King Robbo, when something, when he does his art or sprays something or performs his art, it goes for thousands of pounds. I'll tell you just one scenario. His art, it goes for thousands of pounds. I'll tell you just one scenario. People used to come up to him with a boot of a car and give it to King Robbo to paint on it or to perform his art on it. And he used to do it and charge them £4,000 or £5,000. This is the same King Robbo that Banksy became famous off of the fame of King Robbo, as opposed to the other way around, because Banksy had came to paint over King Robbo's artwork, of which I will do a podcast about it. I've spoken to in previous podcasts. I've mentioned this, and every time I talk about King Robbo on my podcast is breaking news in the art world. Certainly the graffiti art, street art, however you want to draw the wordings of it. And so there was a motive along the way, as far as I'm concerned, which has been highlighted to me by an extraordinary way. And I will use the hashtag Saudi Bodyguard, verbalize it as part of this discussion. Who also told me about his belief on King Robbo. And the Saudi Bodyguard, for those of you who don't know, yeah, while you're there, police officers, hope you're fucking listening. Up to you, I say, yeah. Saudi Bodyguard is the former bodyguard of the kings and the princes and princesses of Saudi Arabia. His name is Mark Young. I read his book not long ago. He contacted me and he believes that King Robbo was murdered as well. He told me to shut up about him to the public. But I'm a member of the public. I'm a people's person. And if you're trying to gag me, stop me from talking about anything, I will breach that gag and I will inform the public with it. Because it is legal advice I've been given by a lawyer who told me that along my line of the last decade that I've been going through, all I've been subjected to, the malicious attacks by this group of people in London's Islington's neighbour, including local councillor Martin Clue, Alice Clark Perry, and the MP Emily Thornburn of Islington South. So, bit of a podcast with all directions of discussions, a few subjects there thrown in all into one. If I was a pro YouTuber, I would segment that into different clips, because it's a long one. I've done over an hour here, 1 hour, 2 minutes and 48 seconds on YouTube. The time now is showing. I don't know whether it's recording, but I've got over an hour of it on audio, separate recording for this, which I might have to play that and record another audio if this one don't work, because I know I've hit algorithms here on YouTube, and I also know for a fact that I strongly suspect this podcast hasn't broadcasted, but hopefully it has. And if it hasn't, it's because there are people silencing me, and there's no delusions about that. Absolutely none whatsoever. And while I'm here, I just want to say to the public, to all officials, to all the police, to the Met Police, to all you lawyers or all you mental health professionals, all you who are observing my podcast, bring me proof. Bring it to me here. Bring me proof that I have a mental health issue and I will succumb to it. Bring me proof and I will agree with it. But if you have no proof, everything you say, everything you do, all the systems and processes that you have thrown me into, yeah, is a malicious attack and targeted by rogue elements in Islam Council, rogue elements who are being impacted by it as well in Islington's Labour, essentially Islington's Labour. But Islington Council because I've exposed senior member for taking a cash bribe. And I have evidence to back me with. No one can refute that. Not even a lawyer in this country can, or a judge for that matter. Yeah, and no lawyer or judge can stop me from bringing this to the public because this is public information that I'm bringing forward. This is legal advice that I'm being told to tell the public of my findings. I'm telling you that what I'm telling you is all and around background is to my presidential case. As a result, it's my duty to inform the public. So bring me that proof. Any other members of or anyone at all, including the two that I call Sharmutit al-Yahud, two members that I call Sharmutit al-Yahud, those who want to prostitute for the Zionist element in Islington's Labour. Or those who want to be a prostitute for them, that includes you. Bring me proof. I can't be more fair than that, can I? Because if you can't bring it and submit it to me and show that as evidence, then you must refrain. Then you must remove me from those systems. And there will be someone out there in the public who hears and who actually believe the facts. And the facts are, as until today, no one has presented any evidence to stipulate that I am suffering from any psychotic episode or mental health illness. And this is the malicious thing that politician MP Emily Thornbury did to attack me, to ridicule me. I exposed her senior member in Islington Council taking cash bribe, Cora Nichols, still working there today. Her pension needs to be stopped. The people who own the house don't actually own it. Even the police in Islington fraud section have a report that I've made because I'm exposing it. I'm doing what my lawyer told me to do. In fact, my ex used to go to the same law firm as MP Emily Thornbury. Ironic that, isn't it? There will be people out there who will take aboard my definition. I challenge you, Lebanese officials out there. Come and I welcome you. Bring your consultant psychiatrist. Don't bring me a psychiatrist. Bring your consultant psychiatrist. I've already got 4 that have overruled 1. So now you have the conclusion, yeah? 4 consultant psychiatrists. So the conclusion, yeah? 4 consultant psychiatrists. So I'm not suffering from any mental health or any what's it called, psychotic episode. And I'm currently not required by my doctor to take any medication. So what more do you want? What more do you want other than me telling the public that my character has been assassinated? I'm an outspoken person on Middle East affairs. Outspoken, as in, when I say outspoken, I've been outspoken for over a decade. Certainly throughout the experience of my British Lebanese Twitter account, RT Silverspoon, Lebanese Tips. RT Silverspoon was the same account that His Excellency Michel Suleiman was following for over a decade. And I made that clear to today's person who told me that he works in the BBC. The person who I met today told me he works in the BBC. A person who told me that he works in the BBC. The person who I met today told me he works in the BBC. But I'm kind of glad that he's got it now because he's recorded it. I'm entitled to it. And I should have access to it, that discussion. And I'll leave that there for now. And I'll warn my brothers out there, yeah, be careful. There are people out there presenting themselves as Muslims who are Muslims, but are doing undesired foreign policy jobs or undesired government policy jobs that are put in those positions. So my black brothers, my brothers of all different religions, yeah, be careful, I say to you, brothers. They are using my black brothers in the most derogatory jobs. Derogatory, when I say derogatory, that's the wrong word. In the most worst jobs that you could do. You know, like with nobody, well, a lot of people don't like traffic wardens. That job, I use that as an example, as they put a lot of foreign people in those position jobs. They also put them in the mental health service. They also put from the hospital that I was subjected to, certainly. What else? In all bad, undesired jobs, foreign policy confronting jobs, or even government, local government. There's a lot of foreign people in those bad position jobs, or those jobs that have like, for example, the complaints, the repair section of Islington Council. The repair section. I want to add, by the way, that ever since British MP Emily Thornberry became MP, was selected as MP in Islington. And for those of you who fail to understand that Emily Thornberry was selected rather than elected, when she came to London to live in Islington, she arrived here during the same week as Tony Blair and Cherie Blair. Yeah, in Islington to live here. When she came to Islington, she took over from an MP called Chris Smith. And Chris Smith is a wonderful man who I've met and invited to my house and greeted, and he's a wonderful man, top quality. And you will rarely find me. In fact, he's probably the only one so far, or one or two that I've said that are quality MPs. So I don't have a dislike to politicians, but I certainly don't trust them. And you'd have to be crazy if you trust politicians. You'd have to be actually, how could I say the word? You'd have to be well misinformed, very badly informed if you have any trust in politicians. But that's how MP Emily Thornberry came over and reigned in her position. And she has, coming back to what I was saying, she has inherited the reputation of the repairs in Islington Council as the worst complaints in England. Hey, come on. Now, there's nothing crazy about me telling you this information here. There's absolutely nothing crazy about this whole 1 hour, 30-minute podcast that I've said. You can judge for yourself. I'm not here to tell the public to judge on my state of mind. I'm here to inform the public of my findings, as my lawyer told me. I'm here to tell you guys out there, all you people out there, and there's some wonderful people out there. This is what the politicians did to me here in England. The outspoken anti-Zionist that I am. Outspoken, when I say outspoken, I say it openly on Twitter, or I used to before I was suspended from there, for exposing my case and whistleblowing about my MP. That's how I do it. Yeah. And it's important that we need to allow me to achieve accountability so that I can move forward and rehabilitate myself back into the working environment. I certainly do not want to be claiming benefits, government welfare benefits all my life. And I do not want to be living in a council flat all my life either. Because the treatment of this sectarian organisation, this Little Council, very much sectarian, racist, prejudiced, discriminating. It's just my duty to tell you, public. It's my duty to inform the public. And that's got to be a good thing. Somewhere along the line, you learn from this podcast one thing or two things, and if you learn one or two things, then I'm happy with that. If you learn hundreds of things out of this thing, just sit down and micromanage me, as many will be doing, and try to pervert and twist. But when you expose, I'll give you this last few words. When you expose a whistleblower, you are called all sorts of things, and they will do everything and anything to maliciously attack you. These are the symptoms of being a whistleblower, of having the guts to say what many, of having the guts to say what many will shy away from saying, but actually tell you it. They'll tell you it, but they wouldn't say it in front of the public. Well, perhaps it's a gift, who knows? Perhaps it's just someone who has morals. Yeah, I'm the one who will say it. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, being assertive. And if you want to think I'm a bad person for using my Cockney language, well, I can only tell you one thing: fuck off. Which was to be expected. Final message out, yeah. Control yourself, Muslims out there. It is in your best interest to not be example over Ramadan and leave the people who don't want to fast. Because the majority of the expats, let's face it, second, third majority of the expats, let's face it, second, third generation, because the majority of you don't fast. Majority of you pretend you're fasting. You don't understand, for the majority of those smokers, what it's like to be going, to have that addiction, going through the withdrawal symptoms. It is powerful. And I'm giving you this advice as a 17-day hunger striker. So I have ultimate experience. When I say hunger striker, let me just elaborate very quickly. I was drinking water and coffee. That's it. Full stop. Full stop. 17 days. So I'm giving you Muslim brothers good advice, not just because I'm a Muslim. No. I'm a 17-day hunger striker, and it's important that I get this reverbalized again and again on social media, like my lawyer told me. I bid you all good evening and a good day, and I call out to the journalists of the motherland, or the motherlands all over the Middle East. I call out to you journalists. Yeah, shame on you. Shame on you. You in Lebanon out there. You can't talk openly like I can. You can't address the public with what's happening out in Lebanon like I can. Because I'm not gagged from talking. I don't have restrictions. I'm not living in Lebanon for a start. That is the reason why, ultimately, I'm not living in Lebanon. So I can say what I like more freely than you, not on YouTube as much. But that's what makes me a better person than you. And when I reach out to you and you turn the other cheek, when I come to Lebanon, I guarantee you, some of you journalists will be hounding me. Will be hounding me. Will be stalking me. And you'll be wanting to interview me. And when I turn my cheek away from you, you remember this podcast when I said that, all right? You don't represent me. I've reached out to you. You can see that it's political. My case is political. Anyone who denies it is being political. There are ways around getting around to them accepting what they can deny and what they can't deny. And I urge you all to contact the Lebanese embassy, yeah, and say to them, we understand that Sam, formerly known as British Lebanese, is a victim, is a hunger striker. A presidential case, tell them that. Has Sam got a presidential case? I can tell you that they will give you two answers. Yeah, they don't. They don't respect your privacy. Yeah, so don't think that they will respect your privacy. They're only into mine. Yeah, which is a breach of ambassadorial protocol. They will tell you either we cannot deny it. Yeah, or they will tell you yes, it's true. It's already public information. Ask them. Did Hazem Abdul Samad, the former of Lebanon, meet me face to face along with what's his name again? Ali Banout. Did they say that? Did Hazem Abdul Samad call me and tell me after I received an email from Saeed Hayes' former advisor, Asma Andreos? Did he call me and say to me, Sam, don't talk to anyone outside my office, about my case? It's all recorded. They hated it. Why? Because I recorded them. They hated it because I made some of it public. And I forwarded it to politicians and journalists, investigative journalists, independent journalists, rather. CID here in England, you've got to accept it. You've got to accept the one saying is fact and stop trying to ridicule me like the Zionists in Islington's Labour. To which I re-annotate here to the public. I've been exposing the racism out of Islington Labour for over a decade. I am a son of the mother who changed the law in England after in a case which set a precedence, and I'm proud of it. And I will sing it out loud, podcast after podcast. You can't refute that. And I challenge anyone to contest me in this podcast. I bid you a good day, everybody. Right, okay. The time now is 23:32 on the 24th of April, 2022. That was a live
broadcasted podcast from a recorded audio that let me just stop it now. Where is this? Gosh, stay with me. Okay, stop. This was plan B, recording the audio and also doing the live podcast on YouTube. And so I captured that. And this is a second release of the broadcast I done earlier today, which you've just heard now. Now you're hearing me live and direct to you from Islington, London here. I'm hoping this podcast has managed to broadcast. The other one was broken audio sounds, kept on cutting bits out. And I really get pissed off when YouTube cuts bits out that I've noticed. And just today, just now, I've noticed something that maybe it's anyway. Coming back to this, that podcast was produced from the heart, straight from the heart, from my passion in getting my case out, and I stand by it. What else do I want to say? I addressed it to Smile to Jannah, Muhammad Hijab, and Ali Dawah, who I hope to meet soon, because I've brought forth an issue for the Muslims out there who are experiencing Ramadan now, and I'm hoping that this will be a useful information, or at least bits of it, to relevant subjects that I've raised. And I've discussed different subjects here, including bringing forward my presidential case, sometimes I'm reluctant because I don't want to say too much, because I know that building my defense is being observed by the opposition, or should I say the prosecution, who would be eventually confronted by a lawyer that I'll hopefully get out to bring me my accountability in my presidential case. So I will terminate this call now and hope that this message resonates to everybody. I am formerly British Lebanese, IT Silver Spoon, Beirut Politics, Lebanese Tips. All those Twitter accounts have been suspended now. If you do searches on me, if you want verification of my presidential case, I suggest you use the name of Michel Sleiman and Saeed Hariri and my Twitter accounts that I've just mentioned there, to see some history on Twitter. I no longer have those accounts, but you will see some history and some discussions still there for your verification. And I say this, try to use Twitter, or what's left of what, because a lot of it has been deleted, essentially deleting information that's obtainable. But you can have a background if you're trying to verify a certain factor, do some due diligence in your searches. Some of your countries will be blocked from seeing searches, which means you have to go under different settings on your web browsing. Okay, I bid you a good day. I will do another podcast, probably on Tuesday. I will do one for everybody, for the Lebanese tips fans, the sports betting tips people, and I will continue to populate my legal advice given to me to go on YouTube and social media and expose my presidential case, because this is essentially, this is serious here. This is affecting and impacting my life, my health, is also impacting my family in a big, humongous way. And I call out for justice and accountability. That's all I call out for. That's all I want. Justice and accountability. I bid everyone a good day.